Jason and I had moved to Washington State, and we had 4 healthy children. We were pregnant with our 5th, and almost 10 weeks in, we lost our child. The very day that happened, Jason was speaking at a conference, and I was home alone with the children. It was a traumatic experience. I can remember just hours before sitting and looking for names for our soon-to-come child. Having some terrible pains, I knew that something wasn't right. I got up and I went to the bathroom to discover that I was bleeding. So I was in a little bit of a panic. Our oldest son, Aaron, knocking on the bathroom door, asking if I was okay, and I'm trying to keep myself calm. I'm trying to not alarm my children, but I was afraid. I felt that I knew what was happening and I could not stop it. So I try to reach my husband. I finally get him after what I believe was about 20 minutes or so, which seemed like 20 hours. Finally got in touch with him to let him know what was going on. He came home as soon as he could. He made phone calls on the way, called a NICU nurse that went to our church, and she advised him to let me know that I should lay down immediately and to elevate my feet and to just try to relax, which, as you probably can imagine, was hard, having the 4 little children, and then kind of understanding what was happening, though it had never happened before, nor had I had any issues with pregnancies. All my pregnancies had been very good. All my deliveries, very good. No nausea. I know some of you are hating me right now, but I really had no issues when it came to having children. And so this was new, it was scary, and I was alone. Jason arrived home. I still was having the cramping, the pain. Later that evening, I ended up passing the fetus, and so we went to the emergency room, and they told us that we had had a miscarriage and that they were still going to run the tests and to give us the results, but that's what it looked like had happened. In the emergency room, Jason and I, we laughed, we cried. He shared with me how he believed that it was a girl, and that the Lord had told him Faith, which was, well, I say ironic, but we know it wasn't necessarily ironic, but the name that I had been really looking at that day was Amira, which means God said. So we had made a decision there to name our unborn child Amira Faith, which means God said Faith. We did this as a sort of stone of remembrance. We wanted to teach our children about miscarriages. We wanted to really help them to remember this time, and not as a traumatic time, but as a time where God chose to keep this child for himself, but also to really help them understand in the event that they too experience this when they are married later on in life. Fast forward a few days later, after the miscarriage, our daughter Alicia, which was 3 at the time, came to us and shared a dream that she had had about Jesus in her window. She says she saw Jesus in her window and he had a little girl, and she said, "Who is that?" And he said, "It's your sister." And it was as if Jesus was giving us a hug that day. It was as if he was saying, I have you. It's okay, I have her. And I just felt that she was safe and I was good and all would be okay. And we would see her and get to meet her one day. And I still have that hope. Going through that and naming her Amira, God said faith. We knew that whatever God said for our lives, we could trust and we could depend on him, and we didn't have to fear for tomorrow. We didn't have to fear about getting pregnant again because he had us. We could trust him. We could depend on what he said. And we wanted to teach that also to our children and all that people that we came in contact with. Fast forward, we had 2 more children after that miscarriage, Akeem and Anaya. And then we experienced yet another miscarriage. This time around, I would not say that we didn't grieve, but it was much easier to go through. It was much earlier in the pregnancy. It's almost was like we found out we were pregnant and then we found out we weren't any longer. Though we grieved, we did not feel any hopelessness because we had gone through it before. Our kids understood because we had talked to them about it and they understood God's role in it all, that if he chose for us to deliver that child, then we would have delivered that child, but he chose not to. And sometimes when we go through things, we don't think about it from a biblical standpoint or spiritual standpoint, but if we step back and think about the things that God may have been preventing me from or preventing us from in the pregnancy, even though I'd had good pregnancies, or maybe it was nothing at all, but just to know that the Lord is sovereign and that we could trust him. So we did not know or have a feeling that this child was a girl or a boy. We didn't know. We still named our child. We named him or her Ashley Bailey. And we just want to remember that God is in control of every situation. We want our children to know that. Actually, they were the first to say, what are we going to name them? We have to name this child. We have Amira, and now this baby is with Amira. And so just even in that, it was comforting to know that though we have afflictions, though we have pain, though we have what is uncomfortable for us, just as Job went through all that he went through, we will go through things in life that will shake us up. We can trust and depend that God has said that he will take care of us, he will provide for us, and he will be there for us through it all. And if we just trust him and depend on him, he will bless us in the end. And truly, we have been blessed with our 6 living children, and one day we will get to meet Amira and Ashley that are with Jesus now.